afternoon, everyone. Please join me in thanking the University organist, Annette Girk. Welcome, Kaya. My name is Professor Cara McNish, and I'm the Chair of the Academic Board, the peak academic body of the University. And I'm here to tell you a little about the graduation ceremony, its history, the people involved, and how this afternoon's events will proceed. Before proceedings commence, could I please request that your mobile telephones are turned down or off, and advise that should an emergency occur in the venue, we will take our lead from the theatre staff. On behalf of all my university colleagues, I'm delighted to welcome you to this afternoon's graduation ceremony. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge that our ceremony this afternoon takes place on Whadjuk Budja, the country of the Noongar people, and pay my respects to Noongar elders past, present and emerging as custodians of the historic place on which we meet. Today's graduation ceremony is also a traditional celebration of the university. UWA takes great pride in its history, having enrolled its first students over 100 years ago. However, our roots are deeply embedded in the academic values and traditions that for many centuries have given rise to the world's finest universities. The traditional nature of our graduation ceremony serves to highlight this enduring connection with our heritage. As has been the case in universities across the globe and throughout the centuries, the ceremony will begin with the arrival of the academic procession. This procession comprises graduate scholars, academics and office bearers of the university, attired in their formal academic regalia. UWA is very much an international institution, and our academic staff come from universities from a wide variety of countries and cultures. So in this afternoon's procession, you will see a varied and often colourful array of regalia from around the world. The procession will be led by graduating students, followed by academic staff in order of seniority. At the end of the procession will come the principal officers of the university, members of the university's governing body, the Senate, and our distinguished guests. The final figure in the procession will be the Chancellor of the University, the Honourable Robert French AC, who is immediately preceded by the mace bearer. The mace will be carried by a current student and is a symbolic representation of the authority vested in the Chancellor, who is the Chair of the University Senate. After the National Anthem, the Chancellor will formally welcome all graduates and guests and guide us through the ceremony. There will be a short musical interlude during the ceremony, performed by students from the UWA School of Music. You will, I believe, find much to interest you during this afternoon's proceedings, but of course the main reason you have come is to witness the graduation of our scholars. And I hope you will all join with my colleagues and me in warmly congratulating each graduate who comes onto the stage to have his or her degree conferred. And while it is an historic setting, it is also a celebration, and I invite you to express your enthusiasm wholeheartedly as our graduates are awarded their degrees. And a little secret, a bit of whistling or hooting is fine too. There will be a professional video and photographs of the ceremony and professional photographers waiting downstairs, but please do feel free to stand where you are to capture your own images of the moment. Now would you please all rise to your feet so that the arrival of the academic procession can commence. Thank you.
Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Members of the University Senate, distinguished guests, graduands, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome you to our 11th autumn graduation ceremony. I particularly want to acknowledge the presence at the ceremony of Ms Fadzi Wandi, who will deliver the graduation address, Ms Jessica Moran, who will deliver the valedictory address, the Warden of Convocation, Dr Doug McGee, members of the Senate, Emeritus Professor Lynette Abbott, Emeritus Professor Craig Atkins, and former Chancellor's medal recipient, Mrs Annette Girk. The University of Western Australia, in accordance with its tradition, acknowledges the custodians and traditional owners of the land on which any of its campuses are located. At the main campus, Crawley, the University acknowledges the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional owners of the land on which it is situated. The Whadjuk Noongar remain the spiritual and cultural custodians of their land and continue to practice their value, languages, belief and knowledge. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we share in a ceremony which is deeply rooted in the history and tradition of universities in this country and around the world. It marks the formal recognition by the university of the achievements of its graduands in meeting the standards and requirements of the various courses of study and research which they have undertaken over a number of years. The ceremony joins them with members of the academic staff who have taught them or supervised their work, and with representatives of the Convocation of the University, which is part of the University and which, as graduates, they join. The ceremony also brings the graduates together with parents, friends and other relatives who have supported them in their work and share intimately in their achievements, and who are particularly welcome here today. This university has a long history of achievement and excellence in teaching and research and engagement with the wider community for the benefit of the state, the nation and indeed the global community of which we are all part. It was established, in the words of the University of Western Australia Act 1911, to advance the prosperity and welfare of the people. It was the product of the vision and energy and commitment of extraordinary individuals who founded it and who were its benefactors. Its achievements are the achievements of people, those who teach and research here, those who govern and administer the university, and the alumni who go from this place to make their contributions in a myriad of different ways. So it's not just a degree with which you leave this place. It is a degree from the University of Western Australia, which is one of Australia's leading universities and, according to international rankings, one of the world's leading universities. Each of you who graduate here today will be presented with a Noongar message stick, carrying with it the story of this place. According to Indigenous beliefs, tribal boundaries were established by the great spirits of the Dreamtime. No human had the right to interfere with those boundaries or to venture onto others' tribal land. However, the bearer of a message stick could cross those boundaries. They were traditional passports from one nation to another in Indigenous Australia, seen as carrying the stories of Indigenous people across the land. So in a symbolic way, we entrust the story of this place to you to carry it into the world. The gift symbolises a permanent connection expressed in the timeless language of the Noongar people. For all of you, I express the hope that the knowledge and skills you have acquired at this university will enable you to follow the lifelong path reflected in its motto, to seek wisdom and to apply it for the good of all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to invite the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Education, Professor David Sadler, to give a brief opening address to today's graduands and their guests.
Excuse me while I put my glasses on. I'm going to read. Chancellor, graduands, parents, partners and friends of the university, congratulations. It is my privilege to congratulate you on behalf of the University of Western Australia. Today's ceremony is an opportunity for all of us, graduating students, parents, friends and staff, to formally recognise and celebrate your outstanding achievement in graduating from UWA. As you probably are feeling just at the moment, graduation is a culmination of many years' hard work, and I hope you will remember your time as a UWA student with pride, excitement and accomplishment. During your time here, you would have enjoyed moments of great joy and satisfaction, as well as endured setbacks and challenges. The disciplines that you have chosen to immerse yourself in have unique opportunities and experiences which will significantly prepare you for your future at many levels. You should feel a great sense of pride at how those years of persistence and resilience have paid off as you sit in this beautiful hall with your fellow graduands, surrounded by your loved ones and friends, to celebrate and look into the future with ambition and with purpose. We have provided you with something greater than world-class education. Being a student is much more than providing you with access to academic excellence. I hope you have found time as a UWA student to become involved in the many facets of campus life: clubs, societies, overseas exchange, work experiential learning and community internships, for example. All such experiences have offered you an opportunity to further develop your skills and prepare you for the future. Our graduates have been making a difference at a local, national and international level for more than 100 years. So much has changed during this time, of course, and our graduates are now emerging into a rapidly changing world. In science, for example, one of our graduates went on to pursue a career in physics, pairing science and music research to pioneer acoustic shark detection technology. He has been working in underwater acoustics for nearly 15 years and was awarded a major commercialisation grant from the West Australian Government to test the concepts developed in his PhD in a shark detector, a first for a UWA PhD student. Shane took a PhD subject that even our own Navy has no experience in, and his methods are now patentable. You should feel confident that you are well prepared to take your place in a highly competitive working environment. You have mastered subject matter, concepts and techniques, and acquired skills that equip you for lifelong learning. We find ourselves today in a period of disruption, turbulence and global uncertainty. There is much conjecture about our future world, including what the jobs and the careers of the future will look like. You're also graduating at a time when the rise of populism has spawned terms such as fake news, alternative facts and post-truth. Globalization undoubtedly brings many opportunities and provided us with some areas for critical debate and intelligent dialogue. But this is why knowledge and its application to societal issues has never been more important. I urge you to use the knowledge and the skills you have learned, especially the power of critical thinking, to rally against this populist trend and demonstrate that knowledge, facts and evidence matter. Some commentators are suggesting that graduates of the future are likely to have 5 careers and up to 17 jobs, and that 40% of jobs that currently exist will not be there in the future, not necessarily disappearing, but changing. And for you is the opportunity to create that future and opportunities for others. We hope that your UWA degree will empower and equip you to succeed in a career of your choosing, and possibly a career that is not yet even created. Each of you has the capacity to make a difference to society, whether it's through some major scientific or engineering breakthrough, through the arts or through business innovation. But just as importantly, you have developed the capacity to embrace change, provide innovative solutions, and to question and be open to new ideas and possibilities. This is an exciting time for you, a time to rise to the challenge of what comes next. Many of our graduates here today are already making their mark, having achieved great things during their time at UWA. During the year, several of our graduates have been recognised with awards and honours for their important achievements in science. The faculty awarded a total of 165 prizes and scholarships in 2017. That is an incredible achievement. Your faculty also had 88 students take part in study abroad program in universities around the world. What a wonderful way to get some international experience and education. I'd now like to share with you a quote from Wendy Kopp, co-founder and CEO of Teach for All, a global network of educational non-profit organisations, about the power of experience. She writes, "I often hear from my new graduates that it's better to wait until you have more experience, but I'm a big believer in the power of inexperience. It was the greatest asset I had when I started Teach for All. If I'd known at the outset how hard it was going to be, I might never have started. The world needs you before you stop asking naive questions, and while you have the time to understand the true nature of the complex problems we face and take them on." I am delighted that you chose to study at this university, and sad to see those of you that are leaving us leave. But of course, this is not farewell. You will always be part of the UWA community. You will always be welcome here, and we will do our best to support you through your careers. In turn, I hope you will stay connected and become an active alumni member. What makes UWA special and unique is that when the university was established, our founders placed great importance on building a community of graduates. Convocation exists to ensure all graduates have a lifelong connection to this university. Graduands, your hard work and dedication have led you to this moment, and wherever your journey leads from here, you should be very proud of your achievements. This is your day. Enjoy it. Congratulations to you all. It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Fudzi Wanzi. Fudzi is a global diversity and inclusion strategist, award-winning social justice advocate and manager for inclusion and diversity here. Her background ranges from launching telecommunication networks to addressing financial literacy, unemployment, social disadvantage, gender inequality and racial equity in Zimbabwe, Botswana, the UK, USA and Australia. Over the course of her career, she's been recognised multiple times for her efforts to promote inclusion and diversity, and was recently appointed a 2018 Australia Day Ambassador. Please welcome Fudzi.
Good afternoon, Chancellor, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, members of the Senate, ladies and gentlemen, and to the graduating class of 2018. It is a privilege and honor to be able to stand before you this afternoon and address you and give the graduation speech. I'd first of all like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet. I think it's always important for us to acknowledge the journey that has led to us being here. And so every time I am privileged to hear a welcome to country or acknowledgement to country, I think about the sacrifices that a lot of people have made for me to be able to call Australia home. I think about the sacrifices my own family have made for me to be where I am. And so in that light, I think about the traditional custodians, those past and present, and any members of the Indigenous community that are with us today. And I just want to pay my respects and say that because of you, we are. Today is a really important day for some of you. And I know that my journey began in 2012, right here at UWA. And I'd like to particularly shout out to any single mothers that are with us here, whether you're here to honor your children or whether you yourself are graduating. And I want to honor them because in 2012, at the year that I was turning 40, I found myself here at UWA embarking on a university journey. I had just gone through a really terrible divorce. I had been in Australia at that time for about 4 years, didn't really know anyone, and I decided I needed to reinvent myself. So what should I do? I should go to university. I was under the impression that coming to university would help restore sanity. Obviously, that was short-lived before assignments and readings and all the things that come with it, as I'm sure those who are graduating today would know. But it was a journey that I really enjoyed. And in the journey, I realized just how resilient I was. And I think that it was Eleanor Roosevelt who actually said, "Women are like tea bags. You never know how strong they are until you get them in hot water." A lot of the times that I was here, I experienced what it was like to be in hot water. But one of the things that kept me going was just the encouragement of my fellow students and those that I participated in a lot of group assignments with. I learned a few things along the way, particularly about not to go out partying and expect to pay attention to a tutor the very next day when you're sitting in the front row. There's a lot of things that I learned, but one of the things that I really want to share with you is really to look at what it means to seek wisdom. It has been said that to acquire knowledge, one must study, but to acquire wisdom, we must observe. And so I ask you, what have you observed in the time that you've been here? Because wisdom really is not about what we learn at university, but it's a lifelong journey. And as our founding motto tells us, seeking wisdom is something that I've learned to translate in my life. And what does that look like for me? Wisdom is defined as the ability to use your experience and knowledge in order to make sensible decisions or judgments. I've often wondered whether my decisions have been sensible, but in seeking wisdom, I've also thought, what does it mean to resort to attain, to acquire, or to gain? Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And I think that couldn't be said. It's just so true, because authenticity and knowing who you are is the beginning and the quest that we must all strive for. And the more we look outside of ourselves to create a sense of self, the farther off track we go. How can we know who we truly are when we spend our time trying to win the approval of others? And that's something that I learned when I was here, that for me to be able to achieve whatever success I set out for myself, I had to really understand and pay attention to what I was saying. Not try and be cool, not trying to be, that person who tried to act young. Like I said, when I came here, I was turning 40. And I know that's a shock to you, but I guess I am a living symbol of the adage that black don't crack. So what I would like to say is the world needs you to be you. As you embark on that journey, just remember that. Remember that it is so important to be inclusive. And as a global diversity and inclusion strategist, I cannot stand here and not actually encourage you and advocate for inclusivity. We are good at being diverse. We only have to look around the room to see how diverse we are. What we haven't learned is to be inclusive. We haven't learned to give voice to those that are oftentimes silenced. And I want to encourage you as you go out into the world to take that with you, to remember to be inclusive and create spaces where everybody can fit in and belong. Remember that being true to yourself means that you give others permission to be true to themselves. Part of being authentic is also what we gain when we allow multiple perspectives to shape our narrative. And too much in this world, the voices of those who are undermined, underrepresented, often go unheard. And so I want to challenge you to be the group that actually seeks out to be more inclusive and allow the spaces that you inhabit to be inhabited by many. The reality is, failure should be your friend, because we learn a lot through failure, and we shouldn't be scared of failing. We only have to think about our John Winthrop Hackett, who this hall is named after. He had a failed history of politics, and even tried to be a squatter. That didn't work, and then he became Chancellor of UWA. Failure is not necessarily a bad thing if you allow yourself to learn from that. And I know that there's a lot of cliches about it, but I would challenge you to make failure your friend. Take it out to dinner, just don't let failure cook for you. Oprah said that sometimes you find what you're supposed to do by doing the things that you're not supposed to do. And that might be true for some of you here, that you might decide and discover what your passions are in learning things that you might not have wanted to learn. It certainly is true for me and my journey. I never set out to be an inclusion and diversity specialist or strategist. I just found myself in spaces where I was just passionate about speaking up for those that often went underrepresented. And as a Black female, I had a lot of intersectionalities of diversity and experience that I could draw from. So we all have at one time or another experienced things. Each of us has a story. You have a story. And as you consider what your next steps are, I want to encourage you to be bold enough to continue to seek wisdom. Looking around this room, I see limitless possibility. I see dreams that haven't been dreamt, places that haven't been visited, and an alumni that are world changers. You have a critical role to play, not only in the future of UWA, but also in your community, in our city of Perth, in our lovely nation of Australia, and the world at large. I challenge you to be mindful of the stories that you tell and the stories that you listen to, because each of us has a story. The buildings that we inhabit have stories, the streets, our flags. There's a lot of stories that need to be told. And so, as you go out, I challenge you to do that. The late African icon Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Fellow UWA graduates and alumni, those words have been spoken, the mandate has been given. Your education and your continued seeking of wisdom are cheering, and the call has been given. Let's go out and change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadze, for a terrific and inspiring speech. I hadn't heard that tea bag simile before, but I certainly won't forget it.
I think you will agree that Ms. Wandi's address is a fitting introduction to the primary purpose of this ceremony, which is to confer upon graduates degrees and diplomas of the university in recognition of their academic achievement. My name is Tony O'Donnell, and I'm the Pro-Vice Chancellor and Executive Dean of the Faculty of Science. It is my pleasure today to present graduates to the Chancellor for conferral of the award of Diploma and degree of Bachelor of this university. Chancellor, for the Diploma in Science, Aisha Roseanne Lipinski. Nicholas James Potter. Julian Leon van der Zanden. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts with a major in Human Geography and Planning, Lucinda Susan Lefroy. Hugh William Marchbank. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Agricultural Science, Jack Francis Beck. Darren Ryan DeVos. Ashley Michelle Mary Donison. Jared Bentley Hargreaves. Chishwen Gabriel Pang. Yoshihiro Tada, Natasha Ruth Vermeulen, Madison Chloe Volk, for the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, Uditi Kamesh Bhatt, Morgan Naveen Biggs, Giles Glenn Calvert, Ryan Peter Connery, Brianna Shea Dixon, Tia Christine Evers, Beatrice Yan Lam Ho, Laura Elizabeth Johansson, Lim Hui Min Mindy, Michelle Mei Sian Lo, Kim Toby Melville, Eugene Selchun Zhu, Jordan James Taylor, for the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Botany, Freya Lee Crozier, Julian August Jeeves Bonte, Joshua Harry Kestel, for the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Chemistry, Kei Yin Ang, Zoe Zanetta Castleton, Charlotte Louise Kopok, Alice Rita Dix Matthews, Michael Robert Hall, Alice Hashiguchi, Patrick John Charles James, Kelly Siobhan Jones, Debbie Wei Ding Lau, Nurmasita Binti Othman, Courtney Nika Press, William John Stowell, Jackson Ty Stubberfield, Monica May Yi Tan, Wai Ting Zhao. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Conservation Biology, Zara Tiara Aisha. Joseph Michael Kasperslone. Amelia Catrick Stoll. Chun Sang-fung. Madison Shea Howard. Jasmine Lin. Chelsea Karen Neal. Chelsea Laura Pringle. Lauren Miriam Pulela. Ellen Rose Watson. Callum Joseph Duncan Woods. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Environmental Science, Bianca Rosa Bertelli. Stephen James Castle. Nicholas Andrew Courts. Jack Elias Burt de Souza. Ellen Renee Dalecki. Shay Evan Dorrington. Bailey James Duplessis. Jasmine Kate Eardley Wilmot. Benjamin Noel Fosbury. Sarah Patricia Gerard. Braden Sonny Graham. Evelyn Jia Yuan Hu. Kiara Imogen Jacobs. Alana Marie Cursor. Pak P. Lee. Hazel Lee Am. Adrian Thomas Manee. Kate Louise Nichol. Emma Ryan. Kang Tam. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Geographical Science, Christian Berger. Vienna Madison Schnell. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Geography, Emily Caitlin Lasila. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Geology, Terence Robert Brown. Robert John Hoschke. Danielle Nicole Kelly. Gemma Maria Leftley. Nicholas Francis McMahon. Tyson Kyle Ockleford. Ethan G. Yan Tang Sylvester. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Marine Science, Cecilie Harstad Anderson. Sam Daniel Bach. Henry George Carrick. Sophie May Cochrane. Annika Jeanette Dearlove. Emily Rose Fosbury. Brendan Thomas Gerard. Hannah Christina Gustafsson. Liam John Hammersfeld. Alexandra Jane Hegarty. Joanne Lim Zen Ying. Ashley Crystal Marino. Kota Mitsuishi. Mohammed Kaisun Rayun bin Mohammed Hussein. Ella Marine Golda Rosengart. Katie Rebecca Trimble. Sian Leslie Nardi. Todd Thomas Hoffman. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with a major in Zoology, Keely Page Boston Budd. Jennifer Lee Bruin. Carly Jade Burrow. Olivia Gale Delaney. Akshay Emmanuel Gomez Jackson. Georgia Ann Hadlow. Nicholas James Hart. Somya Chandini Hiari Huij, Rebecca Valerie Horton, Claudia Odette Houston, Amy Laura Hutchison, Erin Rose Hines, Tazia Marie Lemon, Amy Kathleen McAlpine, Jessica Kate McLeod, Brianna Claire Musty, Caitlin Eve Nagel, Claire Megan Amy Nyberg, Candace Anita Parkin, Linda Janie Pingelli, Chia Ying Felicia Pua, Kate Elizabeth Rick, Rebecca Lee Stone, Jessica Kate Tacey. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with Honours, Natasha Ann Brown, Andrew Francis Henson, Rose Joan Zolnier Kerr, Amy Lee Kretzman, Kelsey Zena Lambert, Tullum Selby McKeever, Kristen Carey Nielsen, Lucas Silva Perez, Annabelle Jane Silvestri, Zara Abbas, Hannah Carmel Adam, Dennis Patrick Byrne, Colby James Bignell, Deanne Louise Cummins, Alyssa Jane Edward, George Darcy Edwards, Oliver Thomas Giermiski, Mabel Lily Alexandra Gilhilly, Angus Adam Gillespie. Matthew Hayden Vincent Graneri. Christian Thrain Hackinson. Dominica Mary Jusco. Brock Leighton Keimer. Zachary Marcus Langtree. Ryan Ian Lopez. Jessica Michelle Moran. Jalen David Nicholson. Michael James Nutt. Sophie Olivia Perring. Zachary John Suddles. And Wei Lu Zhang.
On behalf of the University, I confer the award of Diploma and degree of Bachelor upon the graduates presented to me by the Pro-Vice Chancellor and Executive Dean of the Faculty of Science. The University is very proud of its Conservatorium of Music and of the performance standards of its students. I therefore had great pleasure in introducing a brief musical interlude by members of Con Cantorum, one of the UWA vocal ensembles, who will be performing Feelin' Good.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Reeds drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new
in the sea,
and I'm feeling
you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom in the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new and I'm feeling good. Dragonflies out in the sun, you know what I mean. Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. This old world is a new world and a born world for two. the time, you know how I feel, and freedom is mine. And you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. And I'm feeling good.
Thank you again, Concantorum.
It is now my pleasure to present graduates to the Chancellor for conferral of the degree of Master of this University. Chancellor, for the degree of Master of Agricultural Science, Agricultural Economics, Yan Min Yu. For the degree of Master of Agricultural Science, Agricultural Economics with distinction, Daniel Richard Sichet. For the degree of Master of Agricultural Science, Agricultural Systems, Stacey Louise Hansch. For the degree of Master of Agricultural Science, Genetics and Breeding, Hediye Taigigi. For the degree of Master of Science, Agricultural Science, Soil Science, Ming Kao. For the degree of Master of Agricultural Science, Soil Science and Plant Nutrition, Ellie Denise Stone. Chia Chia Wu. For the degree of Master of Biological Science, Conservation Biology, Paul William Brandon. Jun Ji Wong. For the degree of Master of Biological Science, Marine Biology, Yu Bai. Brooke Michaela Fennell. Rost Hammond Gillis. Caroline Robin Hart. Leanne Marie Ward. For the degree of Master of Biological Science, Zoology, Anchal Gupta. Bryce Michael Henderson. Brittany Rose Osborne. Shan Marama Thorne. Matteo Tommaso Ongaro. For the degree of Master of Biotechnology, Jessica Lee Andrews. Mitchell Stephen Bestry. Christine Ishak. Alfred Demianis Mayor. Michael William Murray. For the degree of Master of Biotechnology with Distinction, Guy Windsor Barrington. Rose Isabella McDowell. For the degree of Master of Environmental Science, Environmental Management, Damien Kusma Arnold. Joshua Michael Foote. Tamara Rathnasili Kumaranayake. Meredith Singh Tien Ong. Sophie Charlotte Springer. Tung Tan. For the degree of Master of Environmental Science, Geographic Information Science and Environmental Management, Chun Ming Chung. Richard Greg Olson. Sarah Jean Ravensberg. Akim Mahoon Rollinson. For the degree of Master of Environmental Science, Geographic Information Science and Environmental Management with Distinction, Christopher Luke Anderson. For the degree of Master of Environmental Science, Land and Water Management, Colin David Flower. Susan Kate Murray. Montat Suwanakan. Jack Kee Wang. For the degree of Master of Environmental Science, Land and Water Management with Distinction, Amy Elizabeth Imbergamo. For the degree of Master of Environmental Science, Marine and Coastal Management, Ella Diane Marchetti. For the degree of Master of Geographic Information Science, Ren Zi Ji. For the degree of Master of Geoscience, Yu Shen Kai. Chan Kar Wai. Wen Zhenggao. Peng Fei Jia. Amy Patricia Lassie. Aundre Rodriguez. Samantha Tan Wei Ling. Suet Mei Wan. Kong Hua Zhao. Ruyu Zhao. For the degree of Master of Hydrogeology, Amanda Louise Clements. India Zawinski Jan. Mary Amanda Egan. Callum David Gilligan. Anurda Shantini Kumari Karaviti Arachi. For the degree of Master of Hydrogeology with distinction, Amy Marie Carlino. For the degree of Master of International Development, Madeline Lee Madvad. For the degree of Master of Science, Lucy Bernadette Anderton. For the degree of Master of Urban and Regional Planning, Yezu Fan. Brooke Elizabeth Hongle. Maxwell Kwaku Ozai. Michaela Eva Pilasov. Lucy Suzette Jane Smith. And Ammon Zothner.
On behalf of the University, I confer the degree of Master upon the graduates presented to me by the Pro-Vice Chancellor and Executive Dean of the Faculty of Science.
My name is Professor Kate Wright, and I am the Dean of the Graduate Research School. It is my pleasure today to present graduands to the Chancellor for conferral of the degree of Doctor of this university. To qualify for the award of a doctoral degree of this university, a graduand is required over not less than 3 years to complete training at an advanced level and to pursue research leading to a thesis that makes a substantial and original contribution to knowledge. The thesis is examined by 3 distinguished scholars of international standing, and the examination process subjects the thesis to criticism and evaluation at the highest level and ensures that a recipient of the degree has demonstrated the ability to carry out successful research which satisfies rigorous standards. Chancellor, I now present to you graduands who have completed theses that have fulfilled the requirements for the award of the degree of Doctor of this university. Chancellor, for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and for a thesis entitled The Geography of Ageing in the City, an analysis of population dynamics and policy responses in Perth, Western Australia, I present to you Mariana Teresa Atkins. for a thesis entitled Poverty and Vulnerability to Poverty in Pakistan, Innovative Empirical Analysis for More Effective Policy Interventions, I present to you Mohammed Masood Azim. For a thesis entitled Understanding the In Vitro Bioactivity of the Forage Legume Bicerula pelacinus L, Variability and Mechanisms, I present to you Bidut Kumar Banik. For the thesis entitled Natural and Artificial Regulation of Arabidopsis methylome, I present to you Jonathan Boris Khan. For a thesis entitled Timescales and Mechanisms of Sediment Transport and Shoreline Morphodynamics in a Fringing Reef System, I present to you Michael Vincent William Cutler. For a thesis entitled The Ocean and Coastal Response to Tropical Cyclone Forcing in the Australian Northwest Region, I present to you Edwin Johannes Fokker-Drost. For a thesis entitled The Pygmy Hippopotamus, Choeropsis liberiensis, an enigmatic oxymoron, how a not-so-small species presents a sizable conservation challenge, I present to you Gabriella Louise Flocker. For a thesis entitled Paleo-Proterozoic Magmatic History of the Southern Margin of the North Australian Craton, Implications for Local Crustal Architecture and Evolution of the Continental Crust, I present to you Maria Linda Iaccheri. For a thesis entitled Hydrogen Gas Sensing with Magnetic Nanomaterials, I present to you Chiu Ming Yuan. For a thesis entitled Investigation into the Atmospheric Degradation of Alpha-Phallandrene, a Computational, Experimental and Modelling Study, I present to you Felix Alexander Mackenzie Ray. For a thesis entitled The Synthesis and Pharmacological Studies on a Novel Antimicrobial Agent and New Nickel Catalysts and Their Applications in Organic Synthesis, I present to you Nikki Yingtung Man. For a thesis entitled Cultural Systems, Science and Natural Resource Management, Aboriginal Management of Wetlands in the West Kimberley, Australia, I present to you Michelle Leanne Pike. For a thesis entitled Tracing Multiscale Mineral System Processes Through Sulfur Isotopography, I present to you Vikraman Selvaraja. For a thesis entitled Are We Going Against the Grain in Training? Developing a Training and Information Framework for Farmers and Agronomists in Australia, I present to you Dominique Gabrielle Wright. And for a thesis entitled Geochemistry and Mineralogy of Trace and Rare Earth Elements in Acidified Estuarine Dredge Spoil and Associated Sulfidic Drain Sediments, South Yundarup, Western Australia, I present to you Xu Nian.
On behalf of the University, I confer the degree of Doctor upon the graduates presented to me by the Dean of the Graduate Research School. I will now invite the Warden of Convocation, Dr. Doug McGee, to welcome today's new graduates.
Fellow graduates, as the Warden of Convocation of the University, I congratulate you on your graduation, first and subsequent. As graduates, you join the diverse and incredibly talented alumni of this university. Because of UWA's unique structure and supporting legislation, you also automatically join Convocation, the representative body of the graduates, as lifelong members. As members of Convocation, you now have the right and privilege to share in and contribute to the intellectual and cultural life of the university, and to stand for election to the Council of Convocation and for the 2 places on Senate elected by the members of Convocation. As a member of Convocation, you join over 150,000 graduates who have successfully completed their studies at UWA over the past 100 years. The friendships you have developed as a student at UWA are fostered within Convocation to support valued lifelong networks. Convocation's members range from young to older, and all are welcome, valued and supported. As time passes after graduation, you'll enjoy seeing and hearing the stories of success of your fellow students. And this afternoon we have been inspired by one of your fellow members, Fadzi's story. What an amazing, inspirational story. I hope that you're able to tell a similar story in years to come. I welcome you as a member, and encourage you to continue the relationship with the university which began when you chose to study here and continues as a member of Convocation. Congratulations and best wishes.
On behalf of the University, I will now confer in absentia respective awards upon those graduates who were unable to be present at this ceremony and whose names are printed on the paper. Ladies and gentlemen, we are today celebrating the achievements of our students. It's appropriate, therefore, that a student voice should be heard to mark this significant occasion. I would like to invite Jessica Moran, who graduated today with a degree of Bachelor of Science with first-class honours in zoology, to deliver the valedictory address on behalf of the graduates.
Chancellor, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, members of Senate, distinguished guests, members of staff, deserving graduates and their guests. Being invited to give the valedictory address, I was both honoured and horrified. It seems ironic that the reward for years of hard work should be the despised task of public speaking. After a great deal of internal screaming and sleepless nights, I am overall incredibly grateful for the opportunity to celebrate our shared success. Writing this address has made me reflect on my experiences at UWA and acknowledge how much I have changed and learned since arriving here. Over the past few weeks, seeing first-year students who were born in the year 2000 has not only brought me to the brink of a quarter-life crisis, but it has also helped me recognise 4 life lessons that are unconsciously gained from a UWA science degree. Lesson number 1. No scientist is an island. A tertiary degree, much like life, is impossible to get through alone. Without inspiring role models and helping hands, it is difficult to succeed. Throughout our science degrees at UWA, we were lucky enough to be surrounded by strong, brilliant women in science. Personally, coming from a country town, it has been incredibly valuable to see that yes, I can do it, and I can even do it in a skirt. I am indebted to the amazing men and women of the Faculty of Science for the inspiration they provided, but also for their generosity and kindness. Like most students, I also experienced setbacks and challenges during my degree. However, my supervisors and the wonderful team at the Science Student Office reminded me that the ability to ask for help is a show of strength, not weakness. I have no delusions. I certainly would not be standing here giving this address or even graduating if I had isolated myself and not reached out for help on numerous occasions. Lesson number 2. We are now ambassadors for science. We must use our privilege and credibility wisely. Whether we intended to be or not, our degrees mean that we are now ambassadors for science and the lifelong pursuit of knowledge. We find ourselves in a time of fake news. Every day, misinformation is spread by self-proclaimed experts who research their topics with biased YouTube and Google searches. So I urge you, be a ruthless science communicator. Trust no one. Seek the truth, do the research, and champion real science. We must start conversations in our communities about the reality of climate change, the importance of vaccinations, and the frightening extinction rates of species. If we do not use our educated voices, we run the risk of being drowned out by those who are led by arrogance, fear, and xenophobic politicians. Lesson number 3. Have a 5-year plan, but still say yes to every opportunity. Plans are good, but being open to opportunity is better. The world is full of endless possibilities. Like many of today's graduates, I came to UWA without any idea what I wanted to do other than work in science. At UWA, I gained experience and, more importantly, passion by simply saying yes to opportunities. Can you clean dirty mouse boxes? Yes. Can you babysit some lab mice in Spain? Yes. Can you perform microsurgery on bees? Yes. Can you collect ant sperm in the Panamanian rainforest? Yes, absolutely. When I started my degree, I didn't know anything about ants, bees, or mice, and I lacked self-confidence. But I learned to trust other people's faith in my abilities. By ignoring an overwhelming sense of the imposter syndrome and just saying yes, I found my passion. My very Swiss honours supervisor, who struggled with English sayings, always talked about how ant and bee sperm really blew him off. Despite the unfortunate missaying, his mentorship helped me realise how blown away I could be by bees, eventually inspiring me to now pursue a PhD focused on protecting some of our most important pollinators. Only by being open to opportunities and having the courage to chase them up have I ended up here. Lastly, lesson number 4, make time for life and be grateful. There's a common, if not overused saying, never get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. It may sound cliched, but it's true. During my degree, I experienced the loss of a parent and a sibling. There were 1,000 moments with my dad and my big brother that I took for granted, simply because I expected 1,000 more. Learn from my mistakes. Don't worry too much about the stuff that doesn't need worrying. Make time to consciously be grateful for lazy Sundays, cheap avocados, dad jokes, bad memes, and good dogs. Make time for life. Rather than ending these life lessons from UWA with the cliched, pursue the impossible, I'd like to leave you with a similar but more expansive quote from the great English author Douglas Adams. Let's think the unthinkable. Let's do the undoable. Let us prepare to grapple with the ineffable itself and see if we may not F it after all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation in today's proceedings, which has made it a memorable occasion for all the graduates. I particularly wish to thank Ms Fadzi Wandi for giving the graduation address and Jessica Moran for the valedictory address which you've just heard. Both of them have enriched these proceedings with their perspectives. To all the new graduates, I offer my warm congratulations. As UWA graduates, your achievements will enhance the reputation of this university. We hope you will keep in touch with us over the coming years to let us know what you are doing and that you will retain a lifelong connection as a part of the university community. The ceremony is now concluded and I invite you to join us on Whitfield Court for light refreshments. Members of the audience are asked to rise and remain standing in their places until the procession, including the new graduates, has left the hall.
stockings and pounds and mats and such like. And I gather his predecessor sort of adopted the path of least resistance and he allowed these things to go on. Well, of course, they did. But, yeah. And he's got some opera singers in the choir. Well, you know, they sort of feel that this is just a fill-in for their debut at the Scala or somewhere, and they tend to be a bit prima donna-ish, so he just had to give up one wonderful voice because he's just too awful. He can't cope with, so you're better off having a slightly lesser voice. Oh, scenes today, you know, so from that point of view, as long as he's complaining and whining and bitching, I figure he's happy as a big buck. He's got a really nice girlfriend. Yeah, really nice. She's lovely. She's got because she's submitted a thesis a couple of weeks ago, but she's been offered a 6-month fellowship at Cambridge. So she's going to go in September. So then he'll nip over for a couple of trips and then they can spend Christmas in Poland. She likes Poland. So do a snowy Christmas and such. And what about you? What are you doing? I mean, other than running yourself ragged here, are you...
Well, I went to Paris to try and sort things out and get shopping with the scenic flooded everything.